Visualize, 1993. A prehistoric fever gripped the entire globe. Steven Spielberg took Michael Crichton's chilling prose and breathed life into the nightmare. Starring Neill and Jeff Goldblum, the spectacle was born. Outcome was terrifyingly real. Animatronics and a T-Rex scream that haunted every child's dreams for theater nights on end. Yet, behind this cinematic miracle lies a series of unsettling truths you likely never realized. Tonight, we uncover 15 startling secrets behind the gates. Stay tuned for the top spot because it reshaped the industry forever. Now, smash that like button so the algorithm knows you're a fan. It helps us reach more movie buffs and keeps the Raptors from picking our locks tonight. Are you ready to see what's hidden? Let us begin with 15. The Summer of the Lizard, when the dinosaurs devoured the global box office. June 1993. Humanity had one goal: find a theater. Opening with $47 million, it didn't just lead the charts. It crushed the competition into The Dirt eclipsed Batman and redefined the meaning of a blockbuster. In today's money, that is a $100 million premiere on pocket change tickets. For one season, the world shared a single vision. No social media, no leaks, no streaming. Just one massive film ruling every conversation, from the boardroom to the high school locker rooms across the country. Then came the icon. That distinctive yellow and black fossil logo, first sketched for the book, became a global obsession. The studio didn't just market a movie, they unleashed a phenomenon. Kenner released toys with removable flesh celebrating the carnage. Dinosaur lunchboxes filled every school hall. McDonald's served prehistoric meals where we traded our health for plastic cups we would lose within days. The video games from Nintendo to Sega were brutal and constantly sold out at every local Blockbuster. If you weren't wearing the shirt back then, you weren't there. 14. The director living a double life. In 1993, Spielberg achieved something that would drive any modern creator to a mental breakdown. He was managing the most technical epic in history while simultaneously crafting a soul-crushing masterpiece. Spielberg had already moved to Poland to film Schindler's List. During his few breaks, he would analyze clips of Oddities, digital monster hunting in the rain. He later confessed the emotional transition left him hollow, and this was long before the era of high-speed internet. In 1993, remote work was a myth. Spielberg utilized a massive satellite hub in Poland to watch files from California. It was primitive, expensive tech that offered barely a fraction of the clarity we have now. This man was judging dinosaur movements via satellite while the world was still learning how to use a pager. Since he was stretched to the limit, Spielberg called in George Lucas. Lucas and the Skywalker sound team handled the final polish and audio layers. If this film feels perfect despite the impossible pressure it is because two legends were tag-teaming the finish line. Drop a comment if you think Spielberg is the king of cinema. Just remember, while your Wi-Fi struggles today, Spielberg was running a revolution via satellite from a cold office in Poland. 13. When the heavens actually broke loose. The terror on screen felt visceral, for a dark reason. During the final stretch of filming in Hawaii, a literal monster storm arrived and threw the production into a survival situation. The cast huddled in reinforced hotel basements. Sets were pulverized and the schedule vanished. But look at Sir Richard Attenborough, while the rest of Oddities. The group sat in fear, contemplating their mortality. The man behind John Hammond found a chair and drifted into a deep sleep. When asked how he could nap while the island was being destroyed, he simply shrugged, noting that surviving the Blitz during the war gave him a different perspective on rain, which is pure class. Much of the storm footage you see is not a special effect. The team camera crew filmed the actual hurricane seconds before they were forced to run for cover, real winds and crashing waves that no studio could ever replicate. When the clouds finally parted, the island's infrastructure was shattered, leaving the entire production crew completely stranded and afraid. Fred Sorensen, the actual pilot who played Jock in Raiders, became their unexpected savior. He orchestrated a daring escape from Kauai once the tropical storm's fury finally settled. Nature found a way. Now, let's talk about the number 12 DNA shortcut. Science got a cartoon makeover, and we all fell for the cloning lie. Crichton's book was heavy with theory, but the movie needed high-octane speed. Deep molecular dialogue works in novels, but it kills a summer blockbuster's soul. You can't lecture kids eating candy. You need a visceral cinematic hook. Early scripts were bogged down by explanations that killed the film's momentum. Spielberg chose a cartoon instead, like for more hidden movie history secrets. Mr. DNA simplified complex terror into a 2-minute, friendly animated theme ride. It felt like a safety video. Greg Burson provided the iconic warm voice. His voice carried that nostalgic feeling of our favorite Saturday morning childhood shows. But here is the secret: Mr. DNA is actually a very biting satire. He proves Hammond sold us a dangerous lie wrapped in cheap commercial marketing. We walked out believing a mosquito in amber was enough to create magic. I am still waiting for that classic yellow mascot shirt to trend again. Number 11, The Rhythm of Fear. Forget the roar. Just watch the water. A single glass on a dashboard made the entire theater hold its breath. That was Spielberg's restraint. No monster yet, just the heavy impending impact. He saw his mirror vibrating to heavy bass while driving his own car. Whether it was earth, wind, and fire or not, the dread worked perfectly. He told his team to recreate that visceral terror in a small cup. It sounded easy, but they fought for days to find the right frequency. Nothing worked. The water just splashed without any clean, rhythmic, terrifying ripples. Michael Lantieri solved it using a hidden thin guitar string to create vibration. He threaded the line through the car floor and directly into the cup. Someone below plucked the string to create that perfect rhythmic vibration of doom. Those ripples became the heartbeat of our collective childhood cinematic nightmares. Spielberg made movie history using household items and a little bit of wire. Number 10. The chaos of that famous legendary unbuttoned shirt moment. Gen X remembers the Rex and Jeff Goldblum's iconic bare sweaty chest. That pose looked like art, but it was a total unplanned accident. Ian Malcolm was supposed to be a broken man in absolute pain. Jeff figured a man fleeing death would be hot sweaty and completely wrecked. He unbuttoned the shirt between takes to stay cool and look edgy. Steven kept the cameras rolling. Comment if you think that shot was genius. They weren't making a meme, they were just capturing a gritty, raw moment. It became a symbol of the 90s inspiring giant statues and endless parodies. London eventually built a 25-foot statue to honor that famous shirtless man, a massive monument to a man lounging with his shirt wide open. Goldblum's confidence made the math of chaos theory feel incredibly real and sexy. Number 9. The Dino Myths. Hollywood lied to us about the ancient past. We were sold 2 massive lies regarding those terrifying lethal raptor hunters. The real velociraptor was small-feathered and not a massive movie monster. Think back to those heavy steel kitchen doors. The predators we feared weren't actually raptors, but their larger lethal cousin Deinonychus. However, that name sounded more like a medical diagnosis than a movie monster. So Crichton made the call for his novel Velociraptor. It sounded fast, sleek, and cinematic like a luxury sports car that bites back. Science took a back seat so the vibes could win, but the universe had a punchline ready. While production was wrapping, paleontologists unearthed the Utahraptor, a massive new species with proportions that were eerily identical to the creatures on screen. Stan Winston joked they created it before nature did. Now for the big lie, Alan Grant, whispering to stay still because the beast can't see you. That became a survival rule for a whole generation. One problem: it was dead wrong. A T-Rex had incredible binocular vision and a sense of smell like a bloodhound. In reality, standing perfectly still while sweating through your expensive khakis would have just made you an easy snack. So why did Spielberg sell us this? In the book, these dinosaurs were biological hybrids patched together with frog DNA. Spielberg leaned into that mystery because watching a terrified child try not to twitch while a 7-ton killer stares is pure cinema far more intense than a quick death. It made a great movie, but a truly terrible textbook. Number 8. The Dilophosaurus. This was the ultimate 1993 betrayal for every kid in the theater. We all learned the same lesson the hard way. If a dinosaur looks cute and friendly, you are already dead. It doesn't roar or stomp. It just chirps, tilts its head, and then ruins your ability to trust small creatures. But that screen version was basically a science fiction monster wearing a very convincing prehistoric costume. The Venom. There is zero scientific proof that any dinosaur could spit poison. That was just Crichton's wild imagination. That vibrating neck frill was completely fake, too inspired by modern lizards to add some flair to the kill. In real life, the Dilophosaurus was over 20 feet long. They shrunk it down so you wouldn't confuse it with raptors. Spielberg wanted it to feel harmless, the kind of pet you'd reach out toward right before you deeply regretted it. Even the vocalizations were a trap. That sweet hooting sound was designed to make you drop your guard completely. It lures you into a false sense of safety just long enough for you to stop paying attention. We remember. Nedry sliding in the mud, the glasses, and the slow realization that this wasn't a joke. It was a nightmare. It was a monster wearing a smile. It is why we still don't trust anything that looks like it wants to play. We are halfway through our secrets, so let's pause. Like the video so the T-Rex can finally find his lunch. If you are enjoying this trip through the park, hit subscribe. It keeps this channel running smoother than an electric fence. Comment below if you would have stayed still. Now back to number 7, the 15-minute masterclass in suspense. Spielberg proved that less is more. Here is a number that will haunt you. The dinosaurs are barely on screen. In a 2-hour movie, the prehistoric stars only appear for about 15 minutes total. It is a lesson in restraint. Of those 15 minutes, less than 6 were digital. Spielberg knew that keeping the monsters rare made them feel legendary. By limiting the CGI, the team could obsess over every single scale, every blink, and every drop of predator drool. That is why the visuals still look incredible 30 years later. He learned this the hard way while filming Jaws. His mechanical shark was always breaking, so he hid it. It worked. People were terrified of what they couldn't see. He used the same playbook here. Let the jungle do the work. Then there is the sheer physical weight. When the T-Rex crushes that vehicle, that car is actually buckling. That animatronic weighed 13,000 pounds. The actors weren't just looking at a tennis ball on a stick. They were facing Stan Winston's mechanical masterpiece. His crew built raptors that could act and a predator that breathed, blinked, and looked truly, terrifyingly alive. They had to modify the entire soundstage just to operate the full-sized Rex. It was a triumph of engineering. 15 minutes of footage for 30 years of awe. Spielberg proved that what you don't see hits the hardest. Number 6, the raptor's secret language. You can close your eyes, but it won't help. Those sounds will find you. Gary Rydstrom built those voices by layering dozens of animals together into a soundscape that felt prehistoric and alien. One of the most shocking ingredients, the sound of tortoises during their most private mating moments. It is true. That raspy barking quality in the raptor's call came from a very unromantic encounter in the reptile world. He mixed those tapes with angry bird hisses and heavy animal breathing to give them a terrifying physical presence. He used mammal distress calls for the screams. Perhaps the moral is that we prefer the beautiful, terrifying lie. Lean in, because that freezer screech made every single kid in the theater hyperventilate back in 1993. No digital sound banks existed then. Artists had to hunt the real world for those haunting alien noises. They captured raw animal instincts and twisted them into a terrifying symphony that had never touched human ears. Those raptors stalking children, they were actually voiced by tortoises caught in a moment of primal passion. It is still pure nightmare fuel. Number 5. The multi-ton titan that was absolutely terrified of the rain. 13,000 pounds of prehistoric machinery nearly died, not from a glitch, but from a simple storm. During that legendary breakout scene, the full-scale animatronic Rex was being slowly drowned by a tropical downpour. Its foam latex skin acted like a massive sponge, soaking up every drop of water until it grew heavy. That sudden weight fried its internal brain, triggering violent electrical spasms that terrified everyone on the dark set. Between every take, this mechanical god would suffer a shivering meltdown, twitching like a ghost in the machine. The crew became the world's most elite cleaning service, desperately scrubbing a monster with handheld blow dryers. Imagine being an Oscar-winning artist whose primary job is drying out the damp armpits of a giant dinosaur. The real fear crept in during lunch when the beast would suddenly lurch or snap its jaws alone. Stan Winston called it haunting a lifelike predator that seemed to wake up whenever no one was watching. Drop a comment if you would have bolted the moment that machine started moving without a pilot. Even on a record-breaking budget, the biggest star was a moody diva who threw tantrums in the mud. That unpredictable energy is exactly why the scene feels so real, because behind the scenes, it truly was. Number 4, the hero of the park. How the T-Rex stole the spotlight and saved the entire franchise. If Spielberg had followed the first script, the most famous dinosaur in history would have missed the finale. The original ending was much smaller, with humans using the building's architecture to outsmart those clever raptors. It was tense, sure, but it lacked the thunderous soul that makes an audience stand up and cheer. Spielberg saw the early footage and realized the world wasn't just scared of the Rex, they loved her. Every second she was on screen was electric, so he refused to bench his star for the climax. He scrapped the quiet ending, letting the Queen smash through the walls to tear those raptors to shreds. That iconic shot of the banner fluttering down as she roared was a last-minute stroke of cinematic genius. Like this video, so the Queen of Isla Nublar can keep her throne in our hearts forever. That single pivot turned a narrow escape into a royal coronation that defined a whole generation of movies. Suddenly, the audience wasn't running from the monster. They were rooting for her bloody prehistoric justice. She went from a nightmare in the rain to the protector who saved our favorite characters from extinction. Number 3, the shift from a greedy corporate vulture to the world's most tragic broken grandfather. John Hammond sits in a white suit eating melting ice cream while his impossible dream crumbles into ash. You actually feel for him, but in the original book, this man was a monster in his own. Book Hammond was a predator dreaming of selling tiny genetically engineered elephants to the world's wealthiest elite. He died alone and unloved, eaten by scavengers after a pathetic fall, a fitting end for a cold man. But Spielberg wanted a dreamer, someone who felt like a dark, twisted version of a theme park pioneer. Richard Attenborough ended a 14-year retirement just to bring a gentle, wide-eyed soul to this tragic figure. He became a visionary, watching his life's work turn into a lethal, bloody disaster in real time. A billionaire being eaten is just karma. A grandfather realizing he almost killed his family is a tragedy. That moment where he stares at the ice cream, realizing his ambition was a poison, hits you differently. That's the version that stays with you. Number 2, the R-rated horror nightmare we almost witnessed instead. Jurassic Park was nearly a blood-soaked survival film directed by the man who gave us The Terminator. In 1990, every major director was hunting this story, but 2 names stood above the rest. Spielberg snatched the rights first, leaving James Cameron to wonder what kind of carnage he could have made. Cameron's vision was Aliens, with dinosaurs, a dark, relentless slasher film set in a rain-slicked jungle. Forget the wonder. His predators would have been cold, killing machines hunting humans through pitch-black corridors. Imagine a world of relentless carnage, where the atmosphere is thick with a tension that never lets you breathe. Spielberg gave us brilliant minds and quirky scientists, but Cameron, he would have brought the heavy artillery. Picture a legendary action star hunting raptors with high-tech weaponry. No more life finds a way, just get to the chopper. Cameron later admitted that Spielberg found the perfect soul for the film, balancing breathtaking wonder with primal, raw terror. That delicate balance turned a simple monster movie into a global phenomenon. Like the video, if you prefer wonder over gore, still a dark corner of our minds craves that R-rated nightmare. In some parallel universe, that terrifying film actually exists. Let's pivot to the real revolution. This is the story of the digital Big Bang, the moment the monsters evolved. Phil Tippett, the undisputed king of physical effects, was meticulously crafting clay dinosaurs frame by agonizing frame. Everything was on track for a traditional masterpiece until a rebel named Steve Williams decided to break the rules. Williams believed computers could breathe more life into the beasts than any human hand. His bosses told him no. They said the tech wasn't ready. He didn't listen. Working in secret shadows, he animated a digital king in silence. A T-Rex skeleton walked across his screen fluid, terrifying and hauntingly alive. When Spielberg saw it, his heart stopped. The monitor was glowing in the dark room. Once skin was added, the impossible suddenly became a solid, breathing reality. Tippett stood there watching his life's work, decades of handcrafted mastery, get replaced by cold pixels in a single heartbeat. In that moment, the old world died. He whispered a line that would become a legendary epitaph for his craft. "I think I'm extinct." Spielberg loved the honesty so much he wove that heartbreak directly into the film's script. Dr. Malcolm's famous line about extinction, that wasn't just dialogue, it was a soul-crushing reality for a master artist. But here's the secret: Tippett didn't vanish. Spielberg kept him close, naming him the official dinosaur supervisor. His new mission: teach the machines how to move. He used his wisdom to show them how a predator breathes. The way a raptor tilts its head before a strike, that's his ghost in the machine. Making CG. I feel real. One secret test done on stolen time changed the path of cinema forever. Comment if you think CGI won the war. Every digital creature you've loved since from Gollum to the Avengers traces its lineage back to that one rogue moment. When Williams hit play, the future arrived uninvited. It wasn't just a movie fact, it was a total paradigm shift. Every superhero you see today exists because one man stayed late and dared to defy the status quo. Incredible, right? There, you have it, 15 secrets from the park. Which one shocked you? Was it the sudden death of stop motion? Share your favorite movie myths in the comments. And if you still have those 93 collector cups, we're impressed. Seriously, that is some dedication. Hit like, subscribe to the channel, and join us for more deep, nostalgic dives soon. We'll see you in the next chapter of cinema history. Until then, remember to keep the magic alive. Stay legendary.